Happy 420, everyone. My name is Stephanie Hua. I am the founder and chief confectioner of Mellows. We make beautiful, delicious, handcrafted marshmallows in San Francisco. You can find them at Urbana. I'm also the co-author of Edibles, Small Bites for the Modern Cannabis Kitchen. This cookbook right here. So today, since we're all stuck at home right now celebrating this amazing holiday, I thought it would be great to show you a few of my favorite recipes using a homemade canna tincture. I think tincture is one of the simplest infusions you can make, edibles, and it's super versatile, really discreet, and you can make some really delicious beverages with it. So first up, we have a take on one of my favorite recipes from the book. It's our peach and ginger ale float. Let me take a look here. And I love this recipe because it is just really, again, really versatile. This recipe uses frozen peaches and ginger ale for the float part of it. And we use some fresh basil to kind of kick it up a little bit. But for today's purposes, I don't have any peaches on hand. I do have some frozen mangoes. So I thought it'd be fun to do a little take on this recipe using frozen mangoes, which I have right here. We have about 2 cups here. And I have some coconut milk. All this being on lockdown has me really dreaming of a tropical getaway. So this is my way of doing that. And then I don't have ginger ale, but I do have some seltzer water. So you can just get some sparkling water. I've used kombucha before for a nice bubbly twist on it. It's really delicious. You can really use any sort of bubbly soda that you have on hand. So we're gonna get started right now. Okay. So you do need a food processor or a blender to just mix it all up. The idea is that you're going to be making a sorbet out of the frozen fruit. So it's super simple. You just put your frozen fruit right into your mixer here. And to that, I'm going to be adding some coconut milk. Usually when you get the canned coconut milk, you have this wonderful thick coconut cream on top. So I love that part. I'm gonna put that in here. I'm just eyeballing it. I've got probably about 2 tablespoons in there. And then I'm gonna just put a little bit of the liquid too. Again, about 2 tablespoons just to kind of get it going. I use a rubber spatula just to scrape down the sides a little bit. Make sure it's getting nice and well blended. So something that I like to do is I'll use an ice cream scooper when I'm making the sorbet, and when I have people over and entertaining, which maybe in a couple of months we'll be able to have people over again. But you can really make this ahead of time, which is really great for entertaining. So I'll just scoop out some of my sorbet, and you'll see it's just this beautiful. You know what? Actually, so you can see this. The consistency of this now is just like a fruit sorbet. So you can really do this. It's awesome. You can do this with any kind of frozen fruit. But I'll make the scoops ahead of time, and I'll actually put them on a sheet tray or a plate with a parchment paper on it and stick it in your freezer. Let that freeze. And then you can remove the scooped sorbet and put them into a Ziploc bag and just have it ready to go in your freezer. So whenever you want to enjoy a little canna cocktail, just pull out your stash from the freezer, and then you'll be ready to go without having to make this whole step there. So I have my sorbet now. To my glass here, I'm going to be adding some of my canna tincture. So I've got some homemade CBD tincture here. I think the beauty of making your own edibles at home is it's really choose your own adventure, right? So you can Dose it however you'd like. If you don't make your own tincture, you know, it's super easy to just buy a pre-made tincture. So just add your favorite medicine in here. And then a few scoops of your sorbet. And again, we're talking about how using what you have at home. As a cook, I find that it's just super, you know, get the creative juices flowing to have to work with what you have instead of being able to just go out to the store and get it all the time. And so, you know, if you don't have coconut milk, you can use yogurt. I think that would be a really fun take kind of on a mango lassi, actually, like a frozen mango lassi. That would be delicious. You can also use any sort of milk or heavy cream just to kind of, the thing is you just want a little bit of liquid to add to your frozen fruit to just be able to get it going in the blender. So now I've got my tincture, I've got my sorbet, and then I'm just going to top it off with a little seltzer now. Hi. Your little eyeballs here. This is my daughter, Hazel. She just woke up from her nap. So you want to say hi to everyone and then you want to go? Okay. You want to say hi? Okay. All right. Hi. Okay, good. Work at home, mama. So, yeah, so we're just gonna roll with it, right? So, you know, being a stay-at-home mom during this time has been challenging at times, also super fun, but there are days when I really do need this cocktail. So, so that's always really nice to have it on hand, and you know, whenever we need to whip it up, you know you have what you need to do it. So, so anyway, I just floated that seltzer water in here, and then that's it. You know, you can give it a little bit of mix, make sure your tincture is really well mixed in there, and the creaminess of it a little bit reminds me also of almost like an Italian soda. So it's just really fruity and creamy and delightfully refreshing. So cheers.
Stephanie, do you think you can go over what you did again for the people who just joined?
Sure, absolutely. So what I've done is I did a take on our fruit sorbet float, a recipe that we have in the cookbook. So we basically take some frozen fruit. I used, for today's demo, I used some frozen mangoes. The recipe in the cookbook uses frozen peaches. So you can really use any kind of frozen fruit that you have on hand. We usually, to have enough to kind of get it going in the blender or the food processor, you need about 2 cups of it. And yeah, store-bought is fine, whatever you have in the freezer. I like to, when fruit is in season and it's just really at its peak deliciousness, I'll like to stockpile it. I buy a ton of it from the farmer's market. I process it, like clean it, and then cut it up, and then just bag it up and keep it in my freezer to have on hand. So that's something that I like to do. Strawberry season is coming up. We're kind of at the very beginning of strawberry season, which I love. So frozen strawberries would work really beautifully in this as well. So I basically took the frozen fruit, I added it to my food processor. I put a few scoops of coconut milk. It's just full fat coconut milk. The cream top I added in here to make it nice and creamy. And then I added just a few spoonfuls of the coconut milk on the bottom, just to, especially if your fruit is really frozen, you're gonna need a little bit of liquid to get blended. So I blended that up. What else did I do? And then I put my canna tincture into my glass. So I just put however much you'd like for your beverage, put into your glass. Scooped out a few scoops of the sorbet in there, and then just floated it with some of my sparkling water for the float part of it. So again, this recipe is just really versatile. Sub in anything you want for the frozen fruit part. Sub in, instead of coconut milk, you could use regular milk. You could use coconut water even, if you don't want to do it creamy style. You could also use yogurt. And then for the bubbly water part of it, you can use soda, you could use kombucha, anything kind of bubbly to really get it nice and fizzy.
So is that the book behind you?
Yeah. So this is the Edibles Cookbook. So yeah, this is published, November 2018 by Chronicle Books. And the recipe we did is the take off of this that's in there. So this is our peach and ginger ale float.
Wow.
Yeah.
So how do you know what or what tincture to put in there? Do you have like favorites?
Yeah, so I actually I have one that I have a CBD tincture that I love that I made a big batch of it a while ago, and it lasts forever. It's really, I think, the simplest kind of infusion that you can make at home, because it doesn't require, really any sort of heating other than the decarboxylation part of it. We have a tincture recipe in the book that is really super simple, and so it just takes about a week. You add your decarbed flour with some alcohol into a mason jar, and you just give it a shake once a day for 7 days and keep it in your freezer, and then strain it out and it's ready to go. The beauty of tinctures, I think, is that it's really easy to find if you want to buy a store-bought one. So head over to Urbana, head over to your favorite delivery service, and just have it perfectly dosed, ready to go. It's a really simplest way to do it.
How did you get into this?
So I've actually started in food. So I was for a long time a food writer and food photographer. I had a food blog like ages ago, before food blogs were really a thing. And that actually brought me to culinary school. So I was covering the opening of a new cooking school here in San Francisco, and just fell in love with what the curriculum was like, what they were doing. They were really involved with the San Francisco food scene and chefs that I already really admired and wanted to work with. And so I went through culinary school, and then when I was graduating, I started Mellows. So Mellows is my edibles company. We really believe in a low dose product that is approachable for people who are new to cannabis, people who just have a lower tolerance. At the time it was still the medical market, so it was a little hard to find something that just wasn't crazy, like way too strong for me personally. And so I really wanted to create a product that was just delightful and gentle and approachable and beautiful and delicious. So Mellows was born, and we've been cranking with it ever since. And the edibles cookbook really came about very organically, and feel very fortunate to be able to work on that project with Chronicle Books. Yeah, so I have another recipe. So the float you'll see was just super simple. You can really whip it up in a couple minutes, no problem. The next recipe that I want to work on and show you is, I don't know if you guys have all seen this viral Dalgona coffee that has been going around the internet. I saw it and I was like, what is this? Am I pronouncing this right? I'm not sure what it is. It's basically this beautiful foamy iced coffee drink that has just been taking the internet by storm, and it's kind of been dubbed the quarantine beverage of our times. So I did a little digging, and one of my favorite ways to actually enjoy Mellows is in my morning coffee. Mellows melts really beautifully in any hot beverage, and so coffee, just floating one on top of my morning latte is just so delicious and just starts the day off right. So I thought that'd be really fun to create a Dalgona coffee with a Mellows topper on it. What you'll need is, it's really simple. It is instant coffee, it's sugar, some hot water, and then the milk of your choice. So I've got some almond milk here. And let me get some hot water here. So to your mixer, you can use a handheld mixer or a stand mixer. So I've got my stand mixer here, and it is it's equal parts of all these ingredients. So it's 2 tablespoons of your instant coffee. You don't really want to use less than the 2 tablespoons because you won't have enough actual stuff in the mixer bowl to really whip up as well. So I would suggest using the full 2 tablespoons, and then you can actually, this keeps in the fridge for a little bit, so you can make like a larger batch of it and then keep it in the fridge, and either it'll stay foamy for a while, but you can always re-whip it up as well. So that's 1 tablespoon And then I've got 2 tablespoons here. Okay. 2 tablespoons of sugar. And then 2 tablespoons of hot water. And you're just gonna let that rip in your mixer for a couple minutes. So as that goes, so when I was researching this recipe, I also heard that you can use matcha tea as well as a substitute if you don't drink coffee. So you get a really beautiful foamy matcha latte out of it. And you can also, I think, probably use some sort of chai, like some sort of powdered beverage. So you can definitely experiment with that. Have you guys seen this recipe on the internet? Have you tried it? Yeah. So it takes a couple minutes. You can also actually whisk it by hand if you really want to get a good hand arm workout. But you know, I've seen people try using one of those like milk foamers. I've also, you could definitely do it by hand, but it'll take a lot of whisking to do it. So if you have, you know, mechanical help, I would definitely suggest doing that. And while that goes, I'm just gonna add, so I have a little cup here with some ice. I'll have that milk ready to go. And I have a brown butter sage mellow here. This is my favorite flavor, I think. You know, it's hard to play favorites, but it's so delicious. Anything brown butter, I love. So it's almost getting there. So the brown butter stage, if you have a torch at home, my dabbing friends, you can definitely, the sugar on the top of it is dusted with some raw sugar, and it just brulees really beautifully. So I love to do that for homemade s'mores, or you know, whenever I want to toast it up, I'll reach for that brown butter stage flavor. I'm gonna check on this. So I'm just scraping down the sides here. It's almost there. But I know being at home now, I've missed my fancy coffee drink. So this is, I think, is going to be a nice solution to that. So you see, it's gotten really just beautiful, foamy. And the longer you mix it, the foamier it'll get. I was, one of my friends, Monica Lowe, she has an amazing site, Sue Weed. And I saw she posted on her Instagram a matcha Dalgona, and it was just beautiful and airy and light. And it looks like she said that she had added some aquafaba also to it. So if you don't know what aquafaba is, for all my vegan friends, we actually have an aquafaba recipe where we use aquafaba in meringues in the cookbook. It is actually, it's chickpea water. So it's that water that you find in the cans of chickpeas after you've strained it. It actually will whip up like almost like a gelatin base. It's amazing. It doesn't taste beany at all. I know it sounds really, really weird, but it's kind of this magical liquid that just provides that structure and will whip up. So if you add a little bit of aquafaba, if you have canned beans at home, make sure if they're chickpeas, you can add a couple tablespoons of that to this. You'll get maybe a little protein boost too. And it'll just get up really nice and foamy and beautiful. So I'm adding this coffee foam into my cup here. And then look at that. Maybe you can see. Cheers. So you can give it a little stir and make sure it gets stirred in nicely. But this will give you a nice little caffeine sugar kick for your 420.
Looks like we have a question. Are you planning on introducing any new mellow flavors?
So we like to do at least one seasonal flavor every couple months. It's been a little bit tougher to roll out our real specialty flavors as often as we'd like to with regulations now, but we are planning on having a special flavor for Pride. So look out for June. We'll have a Pride flavor. That'll be really fun. And then we'll have a summer flavor coming out as well. So I don't know if I want to spill the beans on it yet, but it'll be great for summer s'mores. Let's just put it that way.
And will they be limited edition or permanent?
They'll be limited edition. So the Pride ones will be available pretty much through the month of June. And then the summer flavor will just be a seasonal limited run. That'll probably last a couple months for the summer. Yeah, we used to have I used to roll out a new flavor almost every month, and it was just those are the days. But we do have our holiday staples. So we have that peppermint bark for the holidays, which I look forward to every year. So we'll try to keep rolling out some fun flavors. If you have any suggestions, I always love to hear. Definitely, I take suggestions from fans all the time. I've actually, right before Mellow'S fully launched, I think I tested probably 24 different flavors. And we had this huge spread of just 24 different kinds of marshmallows and had a tasting party. And, we whittled it down to, at that time, it was our signature 6 flavors, just based off of feedback and, kind of this, usually they're a blend of nostalgic flavors and flavors that kind of speak to me on like a culinary creative level. But yeah, we try to definitely roll out some new flavors whenever we can. All right.
Is it difficult to make your own cannabis tincture? I saw that you had your own homemade tincture in there.
Yeah, so I do. I have my own homemade tincture right here. A homemade tincture is, I think, one of the simplest homemade cannabis infusions you can make, mostly because you don't have to worry about really babysitting it on the stovetop. It is essentially decarboxylated flour mixed with high proof alcohol. So I use grain alcohol in my tincture just to get the most bang for your buck. It'll just draw out as much of the THC or CBD that you're looking for. It's just super simple. You combine it into a jar, you decarb your flour, you add your alcohol, and then you give it a shake once a day for 7 days. I keep it in the freezer to really minimize the draw on the chlorophyll on it, so you have a really clean tasting tincture. And then once that's done, you filter out the cannabis matter, and I transfer it to a dark colored jar here just to minimize any kind of light degradation on it. And then it'll last for just really forever. If you want to keep it in your freezer, that'll really help preserve it as well. And then once you have it, you make a big kind of like a pint size portion of it, and then you just have it to use for a long time.
It looks like there's a question on, is there any sugar-free ideas?
Sugar-free. So Mellows are marshmallows. Marshmallows are, I like to say, they are 99% air and 1% sugar. No, it's mostly air and sugar and lots of love. We won't have a sugar-free mellow, but we are working on some new products that that will speak to people who do have concerns about sugar intake or who are diabetic maybe. So there'll be different products. So stay tuned for some new products coming from our team. But in the meantime, Mellows is our flagship product currently.
Another question, when can we expect those?
Well, I think our timeline will be, I'm hoping by the end of this year. Things have been definitely in flux for 2020. So we're rolling with the punches as we do in the cannabis industry, but we are doing our best. And, our goal is always to bring to the people what they want, and we have gotten a lot of requests for more products from us. So thank you so much for all that support, and we'll do our best to be able to roll it out as soon as possible.
Awesome. Can you just, for the people that have just tuned in, do what we did with the first drink and just do roll through?
Yeah, a little recap of the coffee. So so for the second recipe that I did, I've been seeing this super viral coffee beverage that has just been taking the internet by storm, this Dalgona coffee. If you haven't heard of it, just do a search on that hashtag on Instagram and your mind will just be blown by these beautiful images of billowing, gorgeous, fluffy coffee drinks that people are making. It's been billed as the quarantine beverage of our times because I think it just uses ingredients that are really simple that you probably have in your pantry already. So it's 3 ingredients. It is some instant coffee, sugar, and hot water. And you do that in equal parts into a mixer. So I use 2 tablespoons of each. So 2 tablespoons of that instant coffee, the sugar and hot water. And then threw it in my mixer, put it on high speed for, I think it was probably about 3 or 4 minutes. And it'll just whip up. You'll see it kind of transform into this billowy, foamy coffee magic. And you just fill up your glass with some ice, the milk of your choice, and top it with the coffee foam that you just made. And then I like to top my coffees usually with a Mellows. So I just threw that into my coffee drink just to give it that extra 420 love, and there you go. It's just a nice little pick-me-up for your day.
And we just wanted to mention quickly about Urbana for Good. So we put all these segments together in 4 streaming days of 420 in response to the COVID-19 pandemic. So a portion of every transaction at Urbana goes to donating meals at the SF Marin Food Bank, and Urbana has implemented a 2-for-1 program in reaction to the COVID-19 pandemic. And for every 2 transactions, a meal is donated. And Stephanie has helped us by donating 5 books that we're going to do a secret sale with as a bounce back. So we're super excited about this beautiful edible book that Stephanie has donated for us. We also do sell it in the shops at retails at Urbana as well as several other places. And Stephanie's donated 5 books for us to be able to do a secret sale bounce back with, which, and so hoping everyone gets in and grabs a Mellow today so you can try some of these recipes out at home.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think right now there is no better time to be experimenting with edibles at home, and so I think for me, I found a lot of just cooking therapy over the past month or so. And, you throw cannabis into the mix and it just brings that therapeutic level.
We have a new question. Can Vicki Higgins have a signed copy?
Absolutely. I am mortified that she doesn't already.
Exactly. What would be some of your favorite simple recipes in the book that we might be able to kind of point out for people? Because I think over the segments that we've been having over the last 3 days, that's something that keeps coming up over and over again. It is just about cooking at home. And like you said, I like to call it ghetto gourmet when it's like, oh, what's in the cupboard? Like, let's make something fabulous,
Totally. I think honestly, some of the best meals we've had have kind of come that way. It's just, it's awesome when you're able to do it, and you just have the sense of like, okay, like I can do this.
Yeah, 100%. And so I think that'd be great.
Yeah, I mean, the book is actually, so the book is ordered from, the recipes are ordered from simple to hard as far as difficulty level. So that's a good gauge of, you know, as you're flipping through it to see what level you kind of want to attack. So the float is the first recipe. That's, I think, the simplest one. The second one is our take on Nugtella. So it's a chocolate hazelnut spread that is just so good. I just eat it by the spoonful. But that's also great right now because you can make it with any kind of nut butter, right? So so we use hazelnut, but if you had peanut butter, even if you just had store-bought peanut butter, you can use that as your base for it. So it's basically ground up nuts and chocolate, and then a can of butter. So that's also a really easy recipe that is also very versatile as far as use. If you don't eat it all right away, you can also add that to a beverage. Just, you know, make your instant, you know, just chocolatey, nutty kind of coffee as well, or spread it on toast, or, you know, just sky's the limit on what you can do with it.
Yeah, I think there's just so many, it's such a new world for us as, you know, legal cannabis users right now. We couldn't have this conversation 5 years ago on a streaming platform like this, you know, and now because we're allowed to have so many plants at home and experiment with plant medicine, it feels like it's really pushing us into this new realm of what we can do with plants.
Absolutely. And I think if you do have your own plants at home, don't forget about the leaves too.
Yeah,
the leaves, you know, it won't get you high, but it definitely has THCA in it, and you have great healing properties from the leaves. You can juice them. There's actually a recipe we posted on our Instagram today for our green eggs and ham recipe, which I actually love this recipe too. It's really simple. You take prosciutto. You could use prosciutto. You could use bacon, but you line a muffin tin with it, and then you crack an egg in and you bake it. And then you top it with a cannabis pesto. So you can, if you have leaves at home, definitely you can make use of the leaves in a homemade pesto with it. Yeah, and then it's delicious. Tons of ways you can use that condiment.
We've got another question here. Do you juice cannabis, and can you tell us more about juicing cannabis?
Yeah, so I actually did a kind of a culling of Marie Kondo'd my kitchen a while ago, and we actually got rid of our juicer because I wasn't using it enough for it to take up all the space in my SF apartment. But you can juice it just like if you're making a green juice, throw it in with the rest of your fruits and vegetables in there, and it'll take a fair amount of leaves to get, you know, a good amount of juice. But the fresher they are, the juicier they'll be. If you have a bunch of these, you know, you can stash them in your freezer to prolong the life of them. And then when you're doing your smoothies or your juices, you can just, you know, grab them from the freezer and have it ready to go.
And, you know, there's this whole conversation out there right now around that started really with the vape epidemic and people kind of getting into a space with the medical wave where they felt like, oh, you know, I feel more comfortable with vaping because it's discreet. The taste is, you know, a little lighter. People that weren't as intrigued by a traditional combustible cannabis experience. Mm-hmm. And now, you know, I think this is the second segment that we've talked about juicing cannabis leaves or THCA, where, you know, we're kind of starting to realize that some people that were maybe scared of cannabis because they were scared of the head high or the psychoactive high, you can get all those medicinal benefits without getting high by maybe juicing cannabis leaves.
Exactly. Absolutely.
Juice or using fresh cannabis, you know, in a way where you're only going to get that THCA, you're not going to get that head high or have to worry about a psychoactive high, but you only get the benefits from it, or the medicinal benefits from it. So.
Yeah, and you can actually, you know, you can make a non-psychoactive tincture as well, right? So you could either make a CBD tincture that would be non-psychoactive, or if you did not decarb your flower, you know, that's a type high THC, you could potentially make like a THCA tincture as well.
Yeah, and that's interesting because I think a lot of amateur kind of makers or tinkers, you know, that really want to do more cannabis stuff, they probably throw out the stuff that doesn't get them high.
Save it and give it to someone who wants it.
Yeah, exactly. Give it to your grandma who's scared to, toke up, or like,
Yeah. No,
someone's.
yeah, there are tons of just creative ways you can use leaves for they, and different, leaves of different strains will taste differently as well, right? So just how different strains all have different terpene profiles. Leaves will taste different as well. Some leaves are actually really super like sugary sweet. And some, others kind of have a more like bitter green bite to them. So definitely taste them and see kind of what use, goes for whatever you're trying to make.
Yeah.
There are just some really creative uses of leaves that I've seen people who have, battered them and made tempura leaves.
Yeah, I've
Right?
seen
Like,
that too.
so
Yeah,
beautiful.
oven, or just, got them nice and crispy, and you can
Yeah.
kind of spread them out on things.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and garnish it or something, or you can sugar them. Just like how you can make sugared mint leaves sometimes for garnishes. You could do sugared cannabis leaves. Yeah, you can definitely have a lot of fun with them.
Such a good point, bringing us back to sugar and that raw sugar on your favorite mellow, or my favorite mellow, right? But what the next question is, what is your favorite flavor of Mellows?
So yeah, like I was saying, that the brown butter sage one right here is one of my all-time favorites. I think the flavor profile of them is really unique, and it has that buttery, just nutty brown butter flavor that I adore. And then just the sage, I think, goes so well with the cannabis flavor. So our mellows are pretty, they're pretty subtle as far as the cannabis taste goes, but I think that the sage and the cannabis are they marry really, really beautifully together. So that's one of my original just babies. I love that flavor.
Looks like we also have a vote for the seasonal peppermint bark.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yeah. The peppermint bark, we joke, is, people like look forward to it like the whole Williams Sonoma peppermint bark craze. It's like all of a sudden everything is peppermint bark. And every year I kind of curse that flavor, because it takes it's like 3x more labor to make them. They're, all of our mellows are handcrafted and literally made by my hands and my team. But they just take so much more labor, because it has they're hand drizzled with white chocolate, and then hand drizzled with dark chocolate, and then sprinkled with crushed candy canes. And but at the end of the day, after I'm done scrooging about it, we're always really happy that we've made them, because they make people so happy. And they taste phenomenal. I have fans who will stockpile them in December and just keep them in their freezer and just like slowly pull one out every week and have it last the whole year.
I have a feeling that might be Vic H, as
Yeah.
Vic H says, goes perfectly in my mocha or hot chocolate. And that might be Vic H doing a stockpile at home of single mellow peppermint bark.
Amazing.
No, that's a great idea. We've got a couple of minutes left, so I don't know if you want to go over any of the things you made, or one more touch on the edibles before we kind
Sure. Yeah. I mean, so we made two different recipes today, two different beverages. One was using a cannabis tincture. So we took some frozen fruit. I used frozen mangoes. I blended them up into a food processor until it's just like a nice sorbet consistency. Added some coconut milk to it to really let it mix up well. And then made a really simple cocktail with it, and just with the tincture, the sorbet, and then I floated it with some seltzer water. So you can just use what you have at home, use what you have in your freezer, in your pantry. If you don't have soda water, you can use regular soda, you could use kombucha. It's just something bubbly is really nice. And just gives it that nice refreshing fizziness. And then the second recipe was this Dalgona coffee. So we made the viral coffee sensation of this foamy coffee drink, and just floated a Mellows on top of that to medicate it. So it's a perfect 5 milligram little boost for your day.
And we're going to go ahead and put this on Facebook and YouTube and on our website tonight. And we're going to give you a copy of this bad boy, Stephanie, so you can stream it on all your stuff.
Amazing.
And we are so excited that you chose to do this with us today. You got a great smile to look at for an hour. I would do this 3 hours out of the
Likewise.
day.
I'm just happy to see other faces, you know, it's just really nice.
Totally. If nothing else, let's be happy we got to see each other today, and share a little of our cannabis love with all the people out there that we don't get to say hi to right now.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Happy 420, guys.
Happy 420. And y'all can find Stephanie's edible book on our website at urbananow.com. And look out for those 5 giveaways. I know everybody wants a copy.
Absolutely.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.